I'm here today on this week's podcast with Terry Dulin. Terry is an ICRT licensed teacher and a mentor teacher, and she's here talking with us about Reiki sessions and how you can start doing Reiki sessions yourself as long as you have Reiki. And this is an area that a lot of people have difficulty with. A lot of people struggle to stretch out of their comfort zone and give sessions to others. But we're going to talk about why that's important and how you can do it too. So welcome, Terry.
Oh, thank you, Pam. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
I am glad you're here too. Before we start, I usually let everybody know what I have going on here at the farm. And our next classes are in December. In December, I have a licensed ICRT licensed level 1 and 2 class. I also have a weekend class of animal Reiki, level 1 and 2. Animal Reiki isn't just for people who love animals. Humans are animals too. So there's a tremendous benefit. If you're at all interested, I don't offer it very often on the weekends, so go ahead and check that out. That'll be followed by an ICRT Animal Reiki Master Training, and my animal communication class is in there too. And that's the last time that we will offer that until August. So if you're interested in animal communication, do join us. Terry, what do you have going on? And we'll have links to your newsletter and such, or your newsletter, your website and such in the description. But what do you have coming up? Do you have anything you'd like to talk about?
I have actually several classes coming up. I think I'm booked out through the rest of this year, but I travel to teach. So I'll be teaching in Crown Point. I'll be teaching in Lansing, Michigan coming up, Chicago. I've got master classes in Crown Point coming up. Crown Point is, thank you, Crown Point, Indiana, which is about 45 to 50 minutes from Chicago.
Wonderful. Okay, so your classes, my classes are all online. Your classes sound like they're all in person.
They are in person, yes. I travel. If you can't come to me, I'll go to you.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic and good to know. You might have some people reaching out after this.
Sounds good.
Well, before we get too far in, I am just going to invite everybody into an invocation. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and bring your hands into Gasho and just activate all of your Reiki symbols today. And I want to thank you for joining us, and thank you for your interest in stretching out, reaching out, and doing Reiki sessions for others. And just place your hands comfortably on your body, giving yourself Reiki, and breathe. This moment is about you and for you. So give yourself this time to focus your attention on you. There is a specific energy of Reiki, and when we do self sessions, we tap into that. But William Rand has said there is an additional frequency of energy that we access when we stretch out and begin doing treatments for others. Early in 2020, when COVID started and I was in England at the Heathrow airport as borders closed and people panicked, I looked around and recognized that everyone needed Reiki. And I remembered my mentor teacher who said that her dream was for every family to have a Reiki practitioner in it. And I realized how important that was. And so we thank you for answering the call, for being willing to share the gift of Reiki with others. It's only through your help and participation that this beautiful modality can spread. And as it does, as there's more and more love centered within people on the planet, our vibration rises, our consciousness increases, and the vibration of the planet is affected. So thank you for answering the call and being willing to do this. And if you have any nerves or uneasiness, if you're shy, if you're worried about how to do this, hopefully we will answer some of those questions. But I invite you to let all of the unease or discomfort go. And as you listen to our talk, we hope that various aspects of it resonate with you so that it helps you, if you're already doing sessions, to grow your practice, and if you're new, to have the understanding and the courage to reach out and begin doing them afterward. Thank you for joining us here today. Ahoma Takwe Oasin. Namaste and Amen.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. Well, Terry, we're both licensed teachers, and I think it would be great if we told our story, because doing sessions wasn't easy for me. Can you tell us a little bit about your story and how you started giving sessions? And maybe, I don't know if it was easier for you than it was for me. We haven't talked about it, but I'd love to hear.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I'm a fourth generation metaphysical practitioner. So I grew up in a metaphysical home. My mom's a professional psychic. She's a trance medium. You name it, she can do it. So,
Wow.
I started honestly when I was young. And I say young as in my mom was awesome in the sense that she would take a class, she would learn something, she'd bring it home and then teach it to my sisters and I. So with her healing, when she first learned Reiki, she's like, Terry, she goes, come on. She goes, look, we can heal. We can not only heal ourselves, but we can help to heal others. She just taught me to rub my hands together, to open up my chakras, and then place my hands on part of the body that hurts. And I would do this with her on and off for years. And it wasn't until 2002 that she gifted me Reiki, in the sense that she actually purchased a level 1 Reiki class for me. So I received my attunement back in 2002. And at that time, I was only doing it to assist her with her healing sessions. I was working, I was a mom, I was doing other things with my life. And then when she needed assistance, she's like, hey, come on, I need assistance. I've got a client. I'm like, okay, cool. So I was able to practice, not consistently, but still I was able to practice. And then between like 2008 and 2009, I had a spiritual calling. And with that spiritual calling, I was actually led back to Reiki. And pardon me. So from there, I retook level 1, I took level 2, and my hands back in 2009 legit were on fire. Like, I could not wait to touch people. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. Look what I can do. So I always say, had I had the experience in 2009 that I did in 2002, like, my life would have been completely different, because Reiki just changed everything. Like, from that point on, it was amazing. But a couple months later, I took the master class, became a Reiki master, wanted to do Karuna Reiki, but needed to wait. So I ended up taking William's Karuna Reiki class in 2010. So one of the things that I share with people, because most everyone knows this. Pardon me. You can do Reiki on anything and everything. I teach outside of having respect for your clients, okay, that there is no right way or wrong way to do Reiki. So you can do Reiki and you'll have your own system and your own style of doing Reiki. But when I started, I couldn't wait to touch people. Like, I would go to family parties and I would tell all my family members, I'm like, you guys, I learned Reiki. Can I please do a Reiki session on you? So it got to the point to where my family and friends were like, oh, is Terry here? Can she do a session? 5 minutes. I'm like just rubbing my hands, placing my hands on their body, on their shoulders, on their head, whatever it was. I just couldn't wait. So I was super excited. I'm still excited. They still get Reiki at family parties.
That's fantastic. I love your excitement. And Terry, that's one of the things I talk about in my level 1 and 2 classes is I tell my students, Reiki everything that will stay still. Everything that will hold still, Reiki that. If it will hold still, Reiki it. Yeah. It's such a great idea to practice like that. And I know I was really lucky when I started doing Reiki that my children were open to having me practice on them, and my horses were open to it, and my dogs and cats. So I did get a chance to have a lot of things stay still so that I could practice Reiki on them. And, that's so fantastic to do that at the start, like just practice. And then at some point, we seem to move on to doing sessions. And I know for me, Terry, I studied Reiki with William in 2011 with no intention to teach people. I simply wanted to attune animals that wished to have an attunement to Reiki. But yet it was such a beautiful energy. On the way home, on the flight, I realized I had to teach it. Like, I couldn't keep it from people. So teaching was very natural to me. And I guess I'm already a riding instructor and have been teaching since I was young. But I didn't start doing sessions for people for about a year and a half after that. Like, I started teaching right away, and I was slower to do sessions. I had a little bit of a hard time getting into doing sessions. And when I did start doing sessions, I was really uncomfortable charging for them. And that that discomfort then passed to my clients, and I wouldn't charge them, and they wouldn't come back. And I remember watching a video of William Rand's that said, look, if you have trouble, when you're ready to go to that part of it, because that's, I think, a thing that holds a lot of people back. When you're ready to go and become more professional with this and become a Reiki practitioner, you really need to heal any discomfort that you have around money and receiving something in return, because you take a balance of power over people and you allow them to heal more fully if they can contribute to it, if they feel that they've contributed in some way to the healing. And I felt terrible because here for a year and a half, I'd been just giving sessions away, and people were uncomfortable, visibly uncomfortable with it. And I didn't really know what to do. So I really worked to heal that. And I actually just sat down and did a healing experience with it. And once that healed, I literally got up and I had people requesting sessions. I had 3 people requesting sessions on my computer as soon as I healed my discomfort with receiving money. Like, I literally got up from the session, went to my computer and my phone. There were 3 requests for treatments, and I had maybe done 6 treatments in a year and a half up till then. So it was profound. What do you find with yourself and with your students when it's time to move on to being that little bit more professional practitioner? What do you notice?
I have to share, in all of my Reiki classes, I actually revert back to the 1 and 2 manual. I think it's chapter 11, and it has William's 2 articles from 2006 and 2007.
I love those articles.
And I know, and I tell people, I'm like, you guys, it's dated. I get it stated, but the information is so valuable that it's such a great place to start.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to look pretty per se. But my favorite part of that, well, there's a couple, but anyway, one of my favorite parts is like having the target fee and then the upward price technique to kind of
Yeah.
build. Because I think for me, from what I've seen, there is a money issue, right? And of healing, being able to accept and feel that they are good enough. And then there's the people like to compare themselves to other practitioners, and they're like, oh, this person does this and they have this gift, so therefore they're better, at doing a session. And I remind my students that Reiki is Reiki. So if you choose to add crystals to your sessions, that's fantastic. If you choose to add fragrances or oils, right? Ask permission. Personally, I have a high sensitivity, but Reiki is the process of really just allowing the energy to flow through them to go to their client for whatever they need. So, number one, of course, most of you guys know we don't diagnose. So we don't have to have any particular intuitive skills or gifts. We're not analyzing what the process is for my student or for the students of the clients. So I see if they start, in my mind, if they're unsure, giveaway sessions. But then as you practice and you get a little bit more comfortable with that, start charging a small dollar amount. It's whatever you're comfortable. Barter. You guys barter. That's also a big thing. That's something else. I do that right now.
I still do.
If I want a
Barter
haircut
with my massage therapist.
I'll see. There you go. Yeah. Yep. If I want a haircut or a hairstyle,
Right.
yeah, we'll barter. She'll make me look really pretty, and I give her a Reiki session. I mean, anything. But I say take a step back, take a deep breath, and just allow the energy to flow. And while you're doing your sessions, we as practitioners, we're the channel for the energy. We're the vessel. We receive the healing first. So I'm always sharing. And there's another saying I'm sure you guys have heard. Anyway, feel the fear and do it anyway. So charge something. It doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't have to be any particular, and then build up to it, because yeah, I'll leave it there.
That is fantastic advice. And you make me think, Terry, like typically what a Reiki practitioner would charge would be similar to what a massage therapist charges in your region. And that varies. You'll notice that in some regions, like cities where rent is higher and such, that massage therapists charge a lot more than they do in more rural areas. And I remember one of the things that William suggested, because if we start out at that fee, it puts a lot of pressure on us. And so he said, what, have that fee as a target and say, this is going to be my fee, but I'm doing 10 sessions for a quarter price if you want to come, and the first 10 people that sign up. And then you can say, now I'm doing 10 more at half price and 10 more at 3/4 price or whatever. And so just even gradually building up to that. And the other thing that I like to tell my students is that go ahead and practice, but if somebody asks you, do you do Reiki sessions? That's the universe telling you, oh, it's time to start charging, and it's time to be a practitioner. So if any of you listening or watching have got that message, have had anybody say that, it's time for you to do it. Occasionally I'll have people say, I'm not ready, and they'll send people to me or to another practitioner that they feel has more experience. And I tell them, you are ready. And don't send these people to me like they wanted you. They won't even come to me, but they needed you, and they needed your unique skills and abilities. I also have people say, oh, I don't have this psychic gifts, and who does psychic things and I tell them, you know what, when I book a Reiki session, I actually just want a Reiki session. I don't want the psychic feedback. If I want that, I'll book that type of session. I really prefer just to have the Reiki flow through. And so I don't know if you have any comment to that, Terry.
That's exactly what I do, to be honest. I have my students saying, "Oh, Terry, this needs this." I'm like, "Thank you, but like, how can I encourage you? How can I encourage them?" I'm like, "Okay, so same as you do, you encourage them to go ahead and do the session." People are attracted to others for who they are, their energy, and just the comfort of being with that person. And I also tell my clients, because everyone's different, and again, I really share there's no right or wrong, but I do tell people, if you guys are looking for a psychic read, I'll give you my mom's number. I don't have those like necessarily like gifts and talents. I can feel people's energy really well, but I have to tell you that's also with practice. So
Yes.
I've gotten over the years, and I say over the years, pretty much my whole life, they're like, "Oh, your mom's a psychic. You have the same gifts." And I'm like, "Oh no. Oh, anything that I do now, I've had to work for." So it's been practice. It's been 12 years of doing sessions, but
Yeah.
just animals, plants, situations, family members, people, anybody, like you said, anybody that's going to stand still, they get Reiki. And for me, it really has been incorporating it into my everyday life, everyday practice. It is who I am. I get up, and here's something else I'll share I share this in my classes. I love this. You guys, if you don't do it, I'd ask you to do it now or start incorporating it. Do gasho.
Yes, every day.
Do gasho. It clears the mind, it energizes the chakras, and it enhances your Reiki flow, the energy flow. Do that. And then I also would encourage everyone to, if you have not yet, learn the Reiki ideals, the Reiki principles in Japanese. And this tends to build up, at least for me and my students, it builds up, again, our Reiki energy. So I say it actually raises your vibration, because that's been my experience. But that would be a great place to start. And then just do your Reiki sessions, go into it. And again, whatever it looks like.
I love that. And you know something, I'll include a YouTube link in the description to a song that
Yes.
that goes through the Reiki ideals in Japanese, which is fun. And also in the ICRT Reiki Healing Touch, the level 1 and 2 manual, there is the pronunciation in Japanese, and there's a website link where you can go in and listen to what it actually sounds like in Japanese. And I don't know it off by heart in Japanese. Do you, Terry? Can you?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
Kyo dake wa ikaru na, shinpai suna, kansha shite, gyo hagime, hito ni shinsatsu ni.
That's beautiful.
Oh,
Thank you.
you.
I need to learn that by heart.
I can say it. Here's the bad thing. I can say it in Japanese and I stumble in English.
Oh, I'll do the English. I do it every day in English. So, just for today, do not worry. Be devoted to your work and be kind to people. Be filled with gratitude and do not be angry. And I just changed the order all around, but you start with do not be angry.
Yeah, right there you go. Don't be angry, don't worry. I got those too.
Yeah, don't worry, don't be angry, be kind to people, be filled with gratitude, and be devoted to your work. So those are the 5 things. And there's other ways to say it too, but those are the principles. So that's a really good idea. So listen, Terry, once somebody has been asked, hey, you're a Reiki practitioner, do you do Reiki sessions? And in our lineage, that's usually, if they're level 2, they've got the symbols and they're ready to start practicing on other people. What are some of the things that you would recommend to them? What are some of the things they need in order to do sessions for people? Because they don't necessarily even need to have their own space, do they?
No, space as in renting a place, they do not. When I first started, I had a bi-level. I was in a house, I had a bi-level. Here's a little perk for me. When I took William's class at the ICRT Center, I'm sure as was out of his house. And
Yeah.
oh my gosh, if he's doing it out of his house, I'm doing it out of my house. So I lived in a bi-level. My children were a little bit older. I did have a dog, and I just went ahead and set up, I don't know, an hour time slot. And not to say that I kicked everybody out of the house, but I asked them nicely to leave. And then I had a massage table, and we don't even have, that's the other thing too. You don't even have to have a massage table, but I had a massage table. I think it was one of the inexpensive tables you get from Amazon. Yep. So I had curtains that covered the windows to have it dim, and then just had my table and just had my client lay on the table. And I just did Reiki sessions in my front room. That was it. That's what my space looked like. And I actually did sessions in my front room for a couple of years until we moved, and the new house actually had an office, which I turned into my Reiki room.
Beautiful. And something, I've done Reiki from home as well, but I know when I interviewed Bryce Goebel, she had a brilliant idea, which is if you don't want to do Reiki at home, like if you do want to have a space, but you don't want to have to pay a lot of rent, most massage therapists are set up have the setup that you need, and they do not, a massage therapist can't work 40 hours a week or very seldom. So there's usually like a day or evenings, or there's times that they do not see clients, and they may be willing to share the rent at those times. So I thought that was a brilliant idea. And another thing that I tell people is if you're comfortable with it, you can go to your client and just, and that's what I did. I live in the country. People would always get lost on their way to getting here. Google Maps actually takes them to a road that has a beaver pond that isn't crossable. But when they did show up, we would do Reiki sessions here. And but I also had some clients that were very ill who said, look, can you come to me? And so I did. And I also have some students that work in hospice and work in hospitals. And so there are just so many opportunities and so many different areas that that you can explore doing Reiki. And one of the things that I suggest, and I'll include a link to the article, but an article I wrote recently in the Reiki News magazine was about starting a business by letting Reiki lead the way, and just asking Reiki when you can, okay, where should I practice? Well, what do I need? How do I do this? And so there's some really great, and you said you don't even need a massage table. I love those gravity chairs. So when I teach at home and I have 2 good Reiki tables, but yet I don't have a lot of space. And so I pull out the gravity chairs for some people. And you can also treat people in a chair. That's how Yusui Sensei himself treated people.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, there's all kinds of things that people can do. I know one of the things that I really like, I know that we cover a lot in class, but usually we cover so much that by day 2, when I'm talking about starting your own practice and doing this professionally or whatnot, people's brains are full and they just can't compute at that point. And so one of the things that I noticed, though, is that in William Rand's Reiki Level 1 and 2 manual, Reiki the Healing Touch, he's got a great list of things that you can do to prepare for a session, like placing symbols around the room, clearing yourself with Kenyoku and the Japanese techniques. He talks about a prayer, and there's a prayer I say before every session. I just ask that my ego and personality and personal energy be set to the side so that only the pure light of Reiki flow through me. And then I don't use my own personal energy. Do you have any tips for people about any of that, Terry?
Yes, absolutely. It's chapter 10 in the Reiki 1 and 2 book, because I teach it,
Yes.
of course, all the time.
Thank you.
So I follow along. So here are my tips. My 1, 2, and 3 are not Williams 1, 2, and 3. Again, okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good. So I've learned over the years that no matter how much I try to plan for something, I envision it. I'm like, okay, it's going to go a particular way. It does not work that way. So ultimately, like you were saying, like taking your personal energy, again, same. I will go ahead and when I'm doing a session, I have 2 intentions. My first intention for any session that I do is that the healing's for the person's highest good, and that the healing flows to the Reiki energy flows to the root cause of whatever's ailing the person.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my intentions. And I don't necessarily do a prayer. However, I do, as I'm in Gasho, when I'm saying, having those intentions, I invite God and Jesus and Holy Spirit and Holy Fire energy, Reiki energy to come in. I do call on ascended masters. I call on angels, archangels, the brothers and sisters of the light. I call on the higher entities and energies of the third heaven or higher to join the healing session. Now, do we have to do that? No. I found, though, that is such an added benefit, right? Because it's not about us. We're just the vessel, we're the channel. Our job is ultimately to allow the energy to flow through us to go to the client for whatever they need. I will suggest or say, and I teach this, it's important that we're comfortable. So if you did have a massage table, have your massage table at a level that's comfortable for you to practice, for you to stand, for you to sit. It doesn't, and I will say a massage therapist is going to have their table at a different level than I would as a Reiki practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taller. I'm not that 5'7" is tall, but it's taller. So my table is raised, and I have a stool that my clients can stand on the stool in order to get on the table.
Okay.
So this way, I'm not, reaching over, bending over. I'm in a very nice, comfortable stance. I also have learned to really allow that energy to guide me, and that if I am guided to move on, I follow suit, because if Reiki is sharing, hey, it's time to move to the next position, and I did not listen, Reiki helps me. It will help me move. I'm like, okay, time to move. And I also would say, be open to learning from other people, right? We have our foundation treatment. With the foundation treatment, I find that to be extremely valuable, especially for new clients. Somebody who's new to me, I'll explain my style and how I do Reiki, but then I'll go through like a full body session. I'll go through all the hand placements.
Yeah.
When I'm with a person, I've seen them 2, 3, 4 different times, I may be hopping or jumping from place to place on their body, because I might be on their hip, and then Reiki's saying, okay, now the next place is the shoulder, or now it's the knee on the other leg. So it's sometimes random, but again, I follow the Reiki guidance and I don't question anymore. It's not about me. I just allow it to do it. Allow the energy to flow through me, I should say. Tips, learn, be open. I always share, again, we don't, as practitioners, we don't do Reiki, right? Where there's no concentrating, there's no focusing. If your mind tends to wander a little bit and you need to bring it back, you can focus on the person's name. You can focus on the holy fire energy. You can say the Reiki ideals in Japanese during your session.
Gotta learn them.
Something to bring you back to the present moment, right? So you're here working on your clients. And I say that because my mind tends to wander. I just bring myself back and it's like, okay, now I'm here and I just focus on my client. So, but yeah, be open to learning. And again, follow the Reiki guidance is what I would really say more than anything else.
I love that. And as you explained that, Terry, I actually got a little nudge from Reiki to recommend that book a session or two with a couple of different Reiki practitioners and just see what their style is and what you like about it and what you don't, because it is always absolutely advisable and okay to develop your own style. It sounds like you do the foundation treatment with Mrs. Takata's hand positions the first time, and over time you start using the intuitive style that Usui Sensei and Dr. Hayashi used. And one of the things I like to do in my classes is have people practice the intuitive style on day one and the hand positions on day two, so that they can see what they like best. And also if they like doing a combination like what you're doing. I was trained not by an ICRT teacher, so I was trained at first like you always have to do the hand positions. So for years, that's what I did. And I remember doing my level 1 and 2 class with Carolyn Musial, and she said, I don't know anybody who uses all the hand positions all the time. And I went, oh, I do.
Right.
I thought I had to. I didn't know that there were other styles and that it was okay. So I just love that you say that whatever it is, it's okay. And one of the things that's really nice to ask people is whether they're comfortable with touch. And so I usually just say, would you prefer touch or beaming? Because I can do either. Personally, I prefer touch. It's just people nowadays don't get touched enough. But I always leave it to the client to decide what they prefer. And I follow that. And I'll just say, if they're not sure, I'll say, this is what touch feels like, and I'll activate Reiki energy. And this is what beaming feels like, which is most comfortable to you. And another thing that can be really helpful when a person starts practicing Reiki is the form. There is a Reiki client information form in our manual. Do you want to say anything about that, Terry?
I've been using that form for 12 years. That's my intake form. And I find that I use the Reiki information form and the Reiki documentation form in all of my sessions.
Me
so
too.
It's valuable. And for many different reasons. You have the person's information in there for marketing purposes, personal contact, or emergency contact. And then, of course, there's that paragraph at the bottom, that talks about what Reiki does, how it works. Multiple sessions may be required to facilitate the healing that the client ultimately needs. I use that all the time. That's my intake form.
Well, and one of the reasons I tell people to use it is that once a person no longer has an issue, once it's no longer in front of them, they sometimes forget about it. I've had a client show up. It had been 3 months or 4 months since they'd seen her. And one of the questions on the intake form is, what changes have you noticed since our last session? And I asked her that, and she said, nothing really. And then I could see she looked a little puzzled. Wait a minute, why am I here? And so I looked at my form from 4 months ago or 3 months ago, and I said, so you're still having debilitating migraines? Oh my gosh, she says, I haven't had migraines since I saw you. I forgot all about that. And so it's just really nice to have the history and the background, because of course we didn't know that her debilitating migraines were done that day, but 3 or 4 months later, when she hadn't had any, we did know that they were done.
Right. Isn't that awesome? That's amazing. I love Reiki.
I love Reiki. Terry, just before we go, let's just talk about distance sessions, and then we'll move into a meditation today. What I actually pretty much only do distance sessions now. And certainly during COVID, it was easier. And I even just do my distance sessions on the phone rather than Zoom, because I'm a little bit self-conscious and I usually have my eyes closed listening to the energy the whole time. And so I really like to connect with people by phone. I do it in person, but I find distance sessions, people ask if they're as effective. And I say, actually, for me personally, I find they're a little bit more effective because I'm an empath. So when I'm in somebody's energy, I have to spend some time backing out of it. At a distance, I don't need to do that. So we can just really get in there and get the work done. What are your thoughts on distance sessions?
Okay, so thank you. I actually thought I was the only one. I do also find that the distance sessions can be definitely more informative for me for what my client needs. I have a teddy bear. I actually have a unicorn. That's my surrogate. So I treat my distance sessions, again, they're so valuable, so valuable. I'm very particular with energy. So I make sure that when I'm doing a distance session, I treat it just like it's an in-person session. So
Yes.
I will energetically prepare myself. I energetically prepare my space. I call in the Ascended Masters because this is their time. This is their session. So, and I know Reiki is flexible, but this is for my client. So I always am extremely respectful to my clients and their time. So I also will do a phone consultation. I'll talk to my client initially. I will do a holy fire healing experience with them to walk them, through the forest, down the path, up the hill, explain that to them. And then I'm also quiet. So I don't talk during my session. So when I do a remote session, I've got my surrogate and I also have my Reiki documentation form so that everything that I'm guided to, Reiki, my body acts as a mirror for my client. So if Reiki's telling me that there's a pain in the shoulder, that's where my client needs the energy. If there's a pain in the knee or wherever on my body, but I'm journaling all of this. So every time I feel something, I write it down. I go back and then I send Reiki to that particular area of the body via my stuffed animal. And then after my session, we do a debrief. And that's up to them as far as, do they want to do the debrief after our session or do they want to do it the next day? So they're just absorbing and taking in the Reiki healing that we just did. But I cannot speak highly enough about our remote sessions that we do because Reiki is amazing, spanning all time, all space.
It really is. And it certainly alleviates a lot of the issues that, around having a table and a space and all of that as well. Terry, I almost feel like we're going to need to do a part 2 of this. So hopefully you can be available. We'll do another podcast.
I would love to.
At a later date and go into even more detail about doing sessions for people. Because I just love this. And now you're going to lead us in a meditation. And so for those people who are listening, if anybody's driving, just pull over or hit pause. And Terry's going to lead us into a meditation today just to empower our ability to do sessions, or if you are already doing sessions, to do more. And is there anything you'd like to say, Terry, before we move into meditation?
Sure. So the meditation I'm going to do is the Holy Fire Healing Experience. And this healing experience will help to release what no longer is serving you. So if there are blockages, whether it's an energetic block, an emotional block, a spiritual block, this meditation will help clear those blockages to help empower you to do your sessions and to feel comfortable about doing sessions.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Terry. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. So for those who can, go ahead and get relaxed. Please close your eyes and take a couple of deep breaths. So I'd like you to imagine it's a beautiful day, warm and sunny, and you find yourself walking down a path in a beautiful forest. As you breathe into yourself, you breathe in the life energy of the forest, and with each step that you take, feel the energy of the earth flowing up through the bottoms of your feet. As you walk along, you notice a path going off to the right, and you feel compelled to follow this path. And as you follow the path, you come to a clearing in the forest. And in the middle of the clearing is a small hill covered with soft grass. And you decide to climb the hill. And as you do so, you reach the top very easily and very effortlessly. And at the top, you decide to lie down in the soft grass. You can feel the grass and the earth beneath your body, and you gaze up into the sky. It's a beautiful day. And you see the clouds that are in the sky. And some of the clouds are a little wispy, and they're white, and you can see through, and you can see the blue sky behind. And some of the clouds are a little denser. But some clouds have shapes that are familiar. And some are just fluffy. So as you're gazing at the clouds and in the sky, this one particular cloud catches your eye. And you're watching this cloud, and you notice that it's starting to separate and it's starting to part. And a beautiful beam of light begins to shine down. And you realize that this is no ordinary light, but this light comes from the highest heavens. Light shines down all around you, and it flows into you. And it fills you with warmth and feelings of safety and love. And this light flows through every single cell of your body. This light illuminates every single cell in your body. The light illuminates every strand of DNA that's within your body, and it activates the DNA within your body. So this light illuminates your mental body. It illuminates your emotional body. It illuminates your physical body, and it illuminates your spiritual body, so that your whole entire being is filled with this beautiful light coming from the highest heaven. So anything and everything that does not serve you and is not for your highest good is easily released, and you just let it go. So now I bring your attention back to the light, and I ask that you focus on the light. And as you do so, the light begins to guide you. Follow the light. So when you're ready, take a couple of deep breaths. Bring your awareness and your attention back to your eyes. And slowly open your eyes and come back.
Terry, that was lovely. I just want to say thank you for taking the time to do this with us today. I want to thank the listeners for joining us and for considering stepping out of their comfort zone to share Reiki in the world. I also want to send an invitation for you to join us for our free online Reiki share. You can find that on our website, and we do that every month. And Terry, thank you so much. Oh.
This is Dirk. Whenever I do Reiki, I swear, Dirk and Abby come in to join with our sessions. So
I used to have a Reiki cat and now I have a Reiki dog. Same thing. And I just ask my client, is that okay with you? Now that I do distance, it's easier. The dog is there and I love that. And so as long as the client is okay with it, it's always nice to incorporate a pet into it. Terry, thank you. Thank the listeners. And I hope to see you next week, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.